Hi, I'm Daniel Gold, and welcome to the Gold Standard Leadership Lab. By day, I'm a partner at a leading advisory firm where I draw upon my background as an attorney to help my clients succeed. This podcast, though, is my personal project, completely separate and apart from my day job, but reflects the same passion that I exhibit everywhere for teaching, mentoring, and helping others succeed through simple, impactful lessons. It is my hope that you'll walk away with practical takeaways to help you on your leadership journey. Thanks for being a part of this community and for joining me in the Leadership Lab. Let's get started. There is a philosophy floating around leadership circles that suggests we should strive to eliminate our mistakes. That if we just work hard enough, we just prepare thoroughly enough, and just execute precisely enough, we can become impenetrable, flawless, bulletproof. Please allow me to be the first to disavow this notion and tell you that this is a farce. The very best we can hope for as leaders is to build systems and frameworks that allow us to survive the inevitable impacts without losing control entirely. The worst philosophy is believing that zero mistakes is a goal worth chasing, because when something goes wrong, and I am sure that you will agree with me that it will at some point, you are left picking up the pieces of your own emotional wreckage, scraping shame off the floor while everyone around you watches. To be clear, this isn't going to be a feel-good conversation about vulnerability, but I do want to share with you that it is okay to accept this fundamental truth. Leaders are human beings operating under intense pressure, carrying enormous responsibilities, and experiencing the full weight of their feelings, whether they acknowledge them or not. The question isn't whether you'll hit a guardrail in your role, but rather what happens to you when you do. I'd like you to picture yourself driving up a mountain for me. The mountain represents your career. The road getting up there to the top, it is narrow, the turns are sharp, and the higher you climb in your career, the steeper the drop becomes. At altitude, you can't afford to be paralyzed by perfectionism because hesitation itself becomes dangerous. You have to keep moving, keep making decisions, and keep driving. As we all know, guardrails exist on mountains for a reason. They don't prevent you from hitting them, they prevent you from going over the cliff when you do. And the same principle applies to leadership. Having systems and frameworks in place doesn't mean that you won't take a hit. It means that when you do, it won't destroy you. With a growth mindset, you embrace the scratches and the dings as opportunities to learn, not to accelerate into the next hairpin turn. When it is executed correctly, those guardrails ultimately become what supports you gracefully instead of letting you tumble into the ravine. And I want to make sure that I'm also emphasizing a very important point here as well. Those guardrails aren't just protecting you. They are protecting everyone in the car with you, your team. Brené Brown, a research professor who has spent over 2 decades studying shame, vulnerability, and resilience, defines shame as the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore not worthy of love and belonging. This isn't garden variety disappointment or frustration. Neuroscience research confirms that the brain processes social rejection and shame the same way it processes physical pain. Let's say that you have the unfortunate experience of having a senior leader publicly diminish you, or a client fires you, or a project you led fell apart. Here's what's interesting. Our brains work that feeling of disappointment you have when your brain responds to having been physically injured. Let me say that again. Our brain works in a way that when a client gets rid of us, or a project fell apart, or a senior leader disparages us, the brain operates in a way in that as if you were physically injured. Brown draws a very critical distinction that every leader needs to understand. Shame says, I am bad, while guilt says, I did something bad. Guilt focuses in on behavior, while shame attacks identity. And the data on the outcomes is striking. Shame is highly correlated with addiction, depression, aggression, and withdrawal. Guilt, on the other hand, is inversely correlated with those outcomes. Guilt is adaptive because it allows you to course correct, but shame is destructive because it makes you question your fundamental worth as a person. This maps directly to the guardrail metaphor I just brought up. So guilt says, I took that turn too fast. Shame says, I'm a terrible driver who doesn't belong on this road. One response lets you adjust and keep climbing. The other sends you spiraling toward the edge. Let's go over the specific scenarios I noted a moment ago to see where this shows up. So, number one, the patronizing senior leader. Now, you may have likely experienced this at some point in your career, regardless of your role. I know I have. There is someone who is above you, perhaps insecure about their own position, and so they speak to you in a demeaning way, designed intentionally to put you down so that they can feel elevated. They're bullies. It's also what I call weaponized shame. The attack is very intentional, and it's meant to make you question your competence, your belonging, and your right to be at the table. Maybe the insulting remarks came from your direct boss, who delivered feedback or outright criticism in a way that landed as an indictment of your worth rather than your work. Even when the feedback contains legitimate points, the delivery triggers a shame response that makes it nearly impossible to process constructively. Research on workplace dynamics confirms that when people in leadership criticize others in front of coworkers or show favoritism while belittling others, shame has infiltrated the work environment. Okay, let's talk about number two, the client loss. A relationship you've built ends. Maybe the project went sideways, maybe factors outside of your control shifted priorities. And then there's that shame voice that whispers, you weren't good enough to hold this account. Who do you think you are? Number three, the project failure. So something you led didn't deliver the expected results. Now, without guardrails, the internal narrative shifts from this project failed to I am a failure. And that distinction matters enormously. In each of those scenarios I just brought up, the immediate emotional response is real, and it's okay to feel the feels. Really, it is. We are human beings. The goal isn't to become emotionless or to pretend the hit didn't land. The goal is to have systems in place that prevent the spiral. So how do you know whether what you felt was shame or guilt? So Brown's research identified 4 elements that distinguish people who move through shame from those who get stuck in it. Number 1 is recognize the trigger. So shame has physical markers. Your face flushes, your stomach drops, your vision narrows, time seems to slow down or speed up. Learn your body's signals so you can identify what's happening before the spiral gains momentum. The moment that you can say to yourself, this is shame, you've already begun to regain control. Number 2, practice critical awareness. Reality check the messages driving your response. Is this assessment of your worth accurate? Is the expectation you failed to meet even realistic or attainable? And when a senior leader diminishes you to manage their own insecurities, that says nothing about your competence. Critical awareness means separating the emotional hit from the objective facts. Number 3, reach out. Look, shame thrives on secrecy, silence, and isolation. Brown's research is unambiguous on this point. Shame cannot survive without being spoken aloud and met with empathy. This doesn't mean broadcasting your struggles to everyone. It means having people in your life who have earned the right to hear your story. When you reach out and receive empathy instead of judgment, the shame loses its power. Finally, number 4, speak it. Name what you're experiencing. I am feeling shame about this. The act of articulating it, of wrapping words around the experiences, diminishes its hold. Shame derives its power from being unspeakable. When you speak it, you break that power. These 4 elements are the guardrails. They don't prevent the scratch because you're going to get dinged when you hit those guardrails. But understanding these elements prevent the spin out. The reason why this matters so much is because when a leader spirals in shame, the damage extends far beyond the individual. Your team is watching how you handle setbacks. Your bosses are evaluating your resilience. Your clients are deciding whether you're steady enough to trust with their problems. Everyone has someone to report to. Even a CEO answers to a board, to shareholders, to customers. The way you respond to being knocked down sends a signal to everyone around you about who you are and what kind of environment you're creating. Shame in the workplace breeds fear. It limits interaction, stifles ideas, and causes people to withdraw rather than engage. When you model shame resilience, give everyone around you permission to do the same. When you spin out, you create an environment where others feel they must hide their struggles too. Ultimately, those guardrails keep you on the road and your entire team safe. So here are 3 things you can do today. Number 1, build your recognition system. Spend 10 minutes writing down your physical shame signals. Where do you feel it in your body? What thoughts accompany it? What situations tend to trigger it? You can't manage what you can't identify. Number 2, identify your reach out people. Who in your life has earned the right to hear your struggles? This isn't about finding someone to fix your problems or tell you everything is just going to be okay. It's about having people who can sit with you in the discomfort and respond with empathy. If you don't have these people, finding them becomes a priority. And lastly, practice the language. The next time you feel shame, say it out loud, even if only to yourself initially. I'm feeling shame about this presentation. That comment triggered shame for me. The words feel awkward at first, but use them anyway. The discomfort of naming it is far less destructive than the spiral of avoiding it. Look, that hairpin turns. They're coming. The pressure isn't going to decrease. The responsibilities will likely increase, and you will, at some point, as I have, hit the guardrails. You build your systems before you need them. Recognize your triggers. Question the narrative shame tries to sell you. Cultivate relationships where you can speak honestly. And when the impact comes, feel what you feel. Then correct course, and you keep climbing up that mountain. That is what keeps you and everyone counting on you from going off the cliff. And remember, leadership is not about perfection. It is about progress. Take this lesson, put it into action, and continue setting the gold standard in your own life and at work. See you all next time.